Hello friends, so today's video is going to be a compare and contrast of some of the Witcher editions. So recently Orbit has announced that they will be doing new hardback editions, which is really exciting, and those editions are going to match the illustrated one that came out at the end of last year. And they've also recently released a set of paperbacks, and those paperbacks actually have artwork on the covers that pertains to the events within the books, because previously the artwork on the Orbit paperbacks actually matched the game art. And if you don't know, the video game is a what-if scenario for events that would potentially occur after the events of the books, which means the artwork doesn't actually have anything to do with the events in the books themselves. So I wanted to go through and give you a closer look at both the illustrated edition as well as these new paperbacks, and then I just for fun wanted to compare them to some other editions I have. There's some editions that I either wish were in English or I wish they had continued on with, just because I really like them. But anyway, I'm going to start with the paperbacks themselves. So I believe the box set that's come out is for the series itself, but not the collections of short stories. So if you want the entirety of the image that would line up with the spines, I believe you're going to have to purchase the collections of short stories separate, and then you can order the box set. They're all already out. It's just not out as a box set, and I believe the box set will save you some money. It's a little difficult for me to hold them all at once and hold them evenly, so I'm going to go ahead and have the image of all of them together. When they're on the shelf, they do all line up. I know a lot of us who are very picky get frustrated when there's slight differences in height, so they are all exactly the same height. And I do think the image on the spines looks absolutely fantastic. Some details I want to point out that I appreciate quite a bit is I love that here on the spines, they make it very clear which book in the series you're looking at. So when we have the collections of short stories, the first one says Introducing The Witcher, and then after that it says Tales of the Witcher, which I really like. And then after that it says The Witcher Saga #1 for when the series itself officially starts. So these two are the collections of short stories, and then this is when this series starts. The reading order for Witcher can be a little confusing for people who are new to it, so I appreciate that detail to hopefully clear up a little bit, because in the past it was very hard, especially when they were first released as paperbacks. In the US, you had one of them was short, one of them was tall with the collections of short stories, and then you'd have the height differences from one book to the next. It made it very difficult to explain which one was which, or for people to know where they were supposed to start. So I like that they've done that, especially because with the popularity of the show, I think we're going to continuously see people, new fans, coming into the series. I also like that they have the image that's on the book's cover right on the top as well. And then for the cover art itself, I actually really like that it's simple but bold, and I like that the images are pertaining to events in the books, or there's symbols that represent certain characters or certain events. So I really like that we have that. I hate that we have the Netflix sticker though, the permanent sticker. So it's not actually a sticker. It is on there. I hate that. I really don't care for it. I'm tired of it. We're all tired of it. It continues to happen. So that is one of the downsides. If you are interested in this set, you're going to have the Netflix thing. At least they made it sort of match. That's, trying to look on the upside here. Sometimes when you get this, now on Hulu, now on Netflix, these sorts of things on the covers, it sticks out because it looks so different. But at least the color scheme matches. I just don't like it. So I'm not a fan of that. But at least when it's on the shelf, you don't see that. You just see the awesome wolf symbol on the spine. But then from there, looking at some more of the pieces of art themselves, I always am a fan of the slightly more minimalistic but bold. I really like a white background with a pop of color. I've said that for years, so I'm really a fan of the way these look. I like that we have it saying The Witcher in this same red across all of the front. Baptism of Fire here not only is one of my favorites in the series, but I also think it's one of my favorite covers that we've gotten. It looks great. I like that the placement of the image slightly changes from book to book, but the font does not, or the text, I should say, does not. I really like that. And speaking of font, I like the choice of font as well. I will say the unicorn one looks fantastic. There's only so many ways that you can have a unicorn on the cover of something without it seeming silly, and somehow that is the most menacing looking unicorn I've ever seen, and I think it fits perfectly with the series. And then also I really appreciate that we have Season of Storms included, and I appreciate that on the spine it says a novel of The Witcher. The Season of Storms is a sidequel, so it's not quite a prequel, and it's not really a sequel. The events in this book actually take place between some of the events in the short stories, with the exception of the epilogue, which does sort of hint at some things that occur at the end of the series. So as far as where to pick this one up, it's up to the reader where they want to fit it in, but that's why I like that it says a novel of The Witcher. It's not introducing, it's not part of the main series, but it is a novel. Back of the book, it doesn't have anything exceptional. It just has the image on the back, and I like that it contrasts by having the red, and you see the symbol there as well. So each one, and then you can see at the bottom the series, which I do like, because even if you maybe are a little confused, it sort of has the order down there for you. So overall, I really like these. One little thing, as someone who absolutely loves when things are consistent, I love when right now is an exception. To try to save space, I have my books organized both horizontally and vertically. But when they're all vertical, I really like when everything is the exact same size. And the Orbit paperbacks tend to be quite large, and so I was excited because I thought these were going to be the same size as a lot of those really big floppy Orbit paperbacks. They are a little smaller, so I'm going to grab one so you can kind of compare the differences in size so that you can see the size difference. The blade itself and Shadow of the Gods are what I was referring to as far as the size of the Orbit paperbacks. I was hoping this would be in those sizes just because they look fantastic, but I do think the size makes sense because none of the books are exceptionally long, and so I think if you made them this height, then the books would get really slim. However, if you have picked up some of the other small Orbit paperbacks, it does match smaller Orbit. So it does match some of the other Orbit books that exist already, but not some of the ones like I was thinking, these really popular Orbit books that we've come to know and love. If you watch my channel, you already probably know that Orbit is releasing the series in hardbacks, and I'm very excited about that. And they are going to go along with the illustrated edition that came out. So I want to show those as well. They will be released by the end of this year. So they're not out just yet, but because they're going to match the illustrated edition, I figured I'll go ahead and show you that, and then you can kind of compare and contrast, decide, do I want to buy those paperbacks, or do I want to wait and buy the hardbacks? Or do I maybe want to buy both? So here is what the illustrated edition looks like. Both are by Orbit, and to compare the size, here is the height difference between them. So these are taller and slimmer. I believe that it's just the collections of short stories that are going to be illustrated. So there will be one that matches for Sword of Destiny, and on the cover of that one you have the character Yennefer, which I love that she's gonna get her own cover. They are going to have different artists with very different styles doing the covers for the rest of the series. And when I first heard that, because I like consistency, I was a little unsure if I loved that idea. But because we have so many options now when it comes to our Witcher books, I actually think it's pretty cool, especially because I actually really love some of the artists. So one in particular I've seen because they've done artwork for the Stormlight Archive on the inside covers. You've probably seen this artist before if you're a fan of Stormlight. So on the inside, they've done amazing artwork. And they've also done artwork for the Magic the Gathering card game. And so as soon as I saw they were participating in this, I was so excited. So just for them alone, I would definitely be interested. But they are going to have amazing artists for all of the different covers, which to me is just like having amazing artwork and art prints as the covers, which I think is great. So we have this first one, and if you haven't seen, when you take off the sleeve, you do have a quote, a great quote that I think very much defines how Geralt sees the world and the themes within The Witcher itself. You also have this that I think looks great on the inside cover, both the front and the back. Whenever you get to a new short story, at the front it'll have the title as well as a sneak peek of what you will later see of a full page illustration. It also tells you who the artist is, which I think is awesome. And so here's an example of that preview, but full page. You can see the image right there, and then the entirety of it. And there's different artists throughout, so you're gonna get different styles. I really like that they stayed consistent with sort of a color theme, a palette here. They have that throughout the entirety of the book. And I'm excited to see if they do that for the next one, if there's primarily blues, because the cover of the next one will be blue. So I'm very excited. I'll have the Orbit Instagram page linked down below so that as they are sharing what the covers are going to look like for the rest of the series, you can be kept up to date. Last three editions that I want to show, one of them is from a book box, and it would be the Illumicrate edition. We also have a random hardback that's sort of a Netflix artwork tie-in, but it does look quite good, so I wanted to show that one. And then some Polish editions I have that I so badly wish were in English, but I'm going to start with the Illumicrate edition. I will say I think this looks very, very pretty in person. It sort of has a very matte look, which I really like. Some of the other ones are very shiny, and I love just the simplicity of it with the wolf and the swallow as the eye of the wolf. That's perfect. Perfect imagery for the series. And then I love this sort of very simple forest look that is printed on both the front and the back. On the side, you have the image there, as well as it says, "There's a grain of truth in every fairy tale," there toward the bottom. And then when you open it, it has this beautiful artwork, and this is on both the front and the back, similar to how the illustrated edition had it, and then it has black sprayed edges. I wish they had continued and made the rest of the series, because I 100% would have purchased it. I don't know if I need another set of Witcher books, but I do think they knocked it out of the park. It has a very dark, sort of somber feel to it. But again, I love the simplicity, and I love that it's printed right on the hardback. Speaking of being printed right on the hardback, I loved when they came out with this edition, and for the longest time, I held off in buying this one because I was like, ugh, am I gonna get burned again? Are they once again not gonna print the entirety of the series? And thus far, that's basically the case, because they have these symbols that are in the Netflix show. And in season 2 of the show, they have these different symbols for each of the episodes, similar to what they've done with the paperbacks, the new paperbacks that have come out. And so I was hopeful that we would continue to get hardbacks like these, and it has that kind of gray and black color scheme again. But alas, we do not seem to be getting them, and I doubt we'll get the rest of these with the fact that we're going to get these beautiful hardbacks now from Orbit. So I just will forever have a random edition of The Last Wish. What's new? Last for today, we have my Polish editions. They look ridiculous right now because I'm not able to hold them evenly, but when they are all lined up, just like the new paperbacks, all of the spines create an image, and they create Sapkowski's signature. I also love the map that we get on the side. I think that the font is really cool. It's a nice tie-in, I think, to the video game, because a lot of us did come to the books through the video game, so I like that it is very cohesive. And I do also really like that the map is also on the back, once again, printed right on the hardback. Of the ones I showed here, which one is your favorite? If you could get the Illumicrate edition with an entire series with that look, do you think that that one would beat out the other ones, or do you like some of the other ones more? Are you going to be getting those new hardbacks? Do you like that they're going to switch the cover artists from book to book? But anyway, let me know your favorites, like I said, of the ones I showed here. And if you have some other editions that are your absolute favorites, let me know what language they're in. Is it in the original Polish? But anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in more Witcher content, I'll have my Witcher playlist linked. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.